Good morning. I'm Dr. Wend Ballew. This morning I would like to talk about, poverty and lying about the Spirit of God. I recently watched two different movies in two different settings and noticed the relationship to them. I mean, they were both set on Christopher Street in New York City, and they focused on the community that lived there, which in the first movie I watched, which was made in 2019, is called Pier Kids, and it's about a group, kind of a family dyad of people that have come together and share living spaces together, share resources. They're mostly transgender. They're all queer, but mostly transgender, mostly people of color, and mostly kicked out of their house by their mamas, their good Christian mamas, and have been told, because they're an abomination to God, which is, according to Jesus, a very severe sin. To tell someone that they're an abomination to God, to lie about God, according to Jesus, is the only thing that is unforgivable. I don't know what that means. I'm sure grace and mercy still apply. But to me, it's just something we shouldn't do, right? We should not tell people that a God of love is going to take revenge against them or do something or punish them or whatever. As Kelly Gessendaner said, God's love is not an alternative to God's justice. God's love is God's justice. The second movie I watched was the Stonewall, and it was released in 2025, and it was about the Stonewall bar and the protest and its ownership and all of that in 1969, right before the riots, by a group of people that were kind of loosely a kinship dyad living on Christopher Street, same as Pier Kids, all queer, more mixed in ethnicity then, but all, kicked out of their houses by their mamas because they were an abomination to God. Because of their sin. Supposed sin. What strikes me, two things. In both movies, it is clear that throughout time, people have lived in that location, on the street, or pooling together to get a small place and people sleeping on the floors and stuff. In these very precarious situations, mostly dependent on sex work in order to survive. That place exists, that it operates because the people that work on Wall Street want it to. They want that service. That's people that then go home to their wife and kids and more vote Republican, that's people that then go home to their wife and kids and vote Democrat. That's gay men. That's other transgender people. That's non-binary people. That's people that have the money and the desire for that rough trade. And luckily they're available because the church and people's mamas are upholding sexism, and a lie that God is Robert E. Lee up in the sky. Y'all, God is not a human. God is not an old man. God is the divine. And we, in this human experience, cannot truly understand that. But I am clear and know that the thing we are trying to transform to is not us. And we are here to learn the human experience, not to hate humans. God does not hate humans. God does not seek revenge against humans. God loves us. God loves us. And God did not design a system where half the population was superior to the other half of the population, and this half, based on their genitalia, was subservient to this part. You talk about nature and what's natural. You go find me an animal other than humans that do that. No, it's not natural. It did not come from God. It came from men. Because humans have been mean to other humans and the rest of creation for a long time. And God still loves us. God still loves us. But we have to stop doing this to each other. There ain't nothing wrong with somebody's desire for some rough trade. That's a nice fantasy that they could pay for, a lot for. If all you can afford is Christopher Street, then you can't afford it. And maybe you can have a negotiation about a fantasy with a person you don't have to pay, because you've been honest about your desires with each other, as human beings, understanding human desire and how we've evolved, and that power dynamic is sexy and not a sin. What's the sin is actually having that power dynamic over another human being. You see? It's not a sin to pretend or to have that desire. It is a sin to do it. Not the people that live on Christopher Street and are being forced to do that. Not what I'm saying is not the church should go down there and tell those people on Christopher Street what they're doing wrong. What the church needs to do is tell everybody that they can love them, that God loves them. And maybe stop denying and pushing down these desires as bad human beings. It's bad to be human. It's bad to be human. Why did God make us human? It is not bad to be human. It is not bad to be human. We are having a human experience for a reason, because we are supposed to learn what it is to be human. And we can't do that if we continue to deny and push down our stuff. God loves us no matter what. God made us human. God made all of creation. And God has a plan. And that plan is going to happen. God's kingdom exists right now. Not in the future or far, far away or up in the sky. God's kingdom here on earth exists right now for those that can see. That's what Jesus said. And that pathway to that is through Jesus. One way is through Jesus, studying Jesus. And that is studying Jesus' life and evolution. Not thinking of Jesus as a perfect human. Jesus was not the perfect human. Not denying Jesus of Jesus' desires. Look at what Jesus did and when Jesus' desires. Notice when Jesus was angry and when Jesus was dysregulated. Notice how Jesus was human and Jesus evolved. Notice how Mary Magdalene watched Jesus do that, and how them men, and how Mary Magdalene was named by Jesus the top disciple, but is not named as a disciple. In fact, she was named by Jesus the teacher of the disciples, but was never named as a disciple, right? Because she was, according to Peter and Paul, just a woman. The sexism of women, cisgender women in this country, in this world, enables misogyny. The self-hatred of women towards women is what controls women. The self-hatred of women for themselves and the belief that they were made by God to be subservient to someone else, and their anger towards God for making them that way, for creating a system so unfair and calling it justice. But it's not true. God didn't do that. Man did that. Women believed it. And then y'all murdered and erased the rest of us. Christopher Street exists because cisgender people are so terrified of realizing that we are proof that the male-female binary is a lie, that they will continue to rape, murder, condemn, throw us out of their houses, tell us that God hates us. They'll do anything to destroy us in order to keep their own myth, because to them, that myth, it creates their God. Like me saying I exist, challenge the existence of that Robert E. Lee in the sky. And here I gotta tell you something, y'all. Okay, good. Because you need to question and get rid of that image of God. You need to take your idol, which you call the King James Bible, version of the Bible, and you need to throw it out. Because you've made it an idol. Not because it is necessarily, the way it was constructed is problematic, but whatever. You've used it as an idol between you and God. God loves us.